welcome everybody to the August 12th Town Board meeting. I'd like to open the meeting up at 7:10. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a fairly short agenda tonight, folks. So we're going to open up for privileges of the floor. As normal, I will read the guidelines for privileges of the floor. At every regular scheduled town board meeting, the public shall have the right to address the town board during the portion of the meeting to be referred to as privileges of the floor, which shall take place after reports of the town departments and supervisor. Members of the public wishing to speak during privileges of the floor may sign a sheet before the commencement of the town board meeting indicating his or her name, address, and proposed topic. Signing the sheet will dictate the order in which persons are recognized to speak and will assure the town clerk has the correct spelling of their names and addressed for the minutes. Members of the public to restrict their comments to items of town business and are to observe proper decorum while addressing the town board. Persons who become unruly, who use inappropriate language, or who persist in speaking on items not related to town business may be ruled out of order. Although there is no official time constraint, speakers may address one or more items in their comments. They should be considerate of others and try to limit the remarks to no more than 5 minutes so that all interested members of the public have the opportunity to be heard. So with that, I will open up privileges of the floor at 7:12.
I was at the last town board meeting, I recorded.
Oh, you actually don't have to.
Say my name, right?
Yeah, just say your name.
My name is Lillian T, and I live at 296 South Kelly Road. It's about, I guess I just don't understand. The town has already paid all this money to get the stuff put on the computer. I don't understand a lot of it. But I wanted to ask you a question, Mr. Myers. You said that there's something about one of the laws that you're against, but how do we, if it's not in a computer, or if we can't get to it, how do I know that that law that you're questioning, okay, how am I supposed to find it and see it? Because I might agree with you. I don't know what it's about, but I know that there's one thing that you really don't want the last 3 chapters put in there because of that. But if it's on a computer where everybody can see it, and that's what my understanding is that all it is the existing laws are going in a computer. And then everybody will be able to go on a computer and see them. And then if, like, you bring up, or I bring up, and I say, well, you know what, there's something about this law that I don't like. And then you have a public hearing. So that's why I'm asking why the board doesn't want to do this. You've already paid all this money that is, you know, when I got home, I was talking to my husband about it, that they paid all this money to have this put on a computer, and now for some reason, they don't want to do it. So I guess I'm asking you to explain to me why.
Do you want an explanation now or after privileges?
We should file quorum and do it after privileges.
Okay, I'll answer that after privileges of floor, if that's okay.
Mary Sue Reed, 962 Darrow Road. I just want to read a letter of, or in addition to other things, a letter that I received from one of the Civic Committee members. Dear Mary Sue and Civic Committee members, it is with deep regret that I resign from the committee. My allergies prevent me from doing any work around Town Hall so long as the spraying of chemicals continues. At the June Town Board meeting, I expressed my concern about the toxicity of such chemicals and the dangers to children and pets, especially since our one big social event involves children playing and sitting on the grass during the August movie, not to mention the volunteers who plan to tend the gardens. That gave me the impression the town board was more interested in weeds than in people. Let me wish you success with your future plans, whatever they may be. Regretfully, Diane Jankowski. She resigned July 7th. Having Diane resign is a huge loss to our committee. Her friendliness, her energy, her initiative, and willingness to help out was unsurpassed. Town board members who were in favor of using chemical herbicides and fertilizers are responsible for Diane's resignation. And I have a list of the products that have been used on the lawns out at Town Hall. And I'll just list a few of them. Dimension .1 plus fertilizer, precautionary statement, hazard to humans and domestic animals, harmful if inhaled, avoid contact with eyes or clothing. Another one, Ranger Pro herbicide, precautionary statements, hazards to humans and domestic animals, keep out of reach of children, avoid contact with eyes or clothing. Do not contaminate water when cleaning equipment or disposing of equipment, wash waters. Talstar plus fertilizer, precautionary statement, hazards to humans and domestic animals. And it goes on and on. They're harmful if swallowed, they're harmful if they touch your skin, contact with eyes. And every single one of them that's being used on our lawns have this precautionary statement, hazards to humans and domestic animals. Call Poison Control Center or doctor immediately for treatment advice. This is the kind of stuff we're using on our lawns. So it's highly questionable that any of these chemicals are practically safe enough to drink. And so I request that Mr. Esposito do some research on using less dangerous products on town hall lawns. I also suggest that he heed Mrs. Jankowski's suggestion to hire a qualified person to care for the gardens. The person who spread the mulch, buried the crowns of many of the perennials out there. They're going to die. You know, and this is all of our volunteer work. Installing the perennials will be for nothing. Lou, you've been in charge of building and grounds since July of 2012 and have done little until a couple of months ago. And I appreciate that you're holding off any more pesticide application until after family movie night, which is next Monday. And I appreciate that you are giving them attention now, the gardens attention, but I do hope that you consider alternatives to the current treatments. Thank you.
Any additional comments? All right. Must be on vacation. I'll close privileges of the floor at 7:18. All right. Let's move on to current business. Mr. Highway Superintendent?
Yes. I've been doing business with Dane Mellon from Katie Company, and July's been a slow month. I guess everybody's going on vacation. He got married, so he was away. But luckily now, maybe he's not bothering. He didn't call me back, but I got this card in the mail where they're giving a $2 discount per gallon. And their big time for doing the roads, the cracks in the road, is starting this month on, is when they usually do it. So we'll get together, I'll get a price from for at the next meeting, and we'll have them do it. That's one issue. The other one is, well, Paul mentioned it again tonight, about getting a mirror at the tunnel down there. Maybe to make it a little easier getting through there, you know? So I checked around already. I couldn't find anybody even had them. I don't know where they're buying them. But I'll get more seriously involved in it. And I'll go put it up myself if I have to. I should be looking for one. It doesn't have to be real big. The problem we had was they were shooting them out all the time on us, as I think we all know about it. So if I find something small to put up there, maybe it'll help us, you know? It'll help. Paul comes through there a lot. I know that's why he's mentioning it, you know? And it is dangerous. They don't stop. And that's all. The only other thing that came up during months, I got one pothole that I couldn't find on Norman Scale. I don't know where it is. Somebody called and told me there's a pothole. So I'll just go get a bag of coal patch and throw it in if I can find it, you know? If I don't find it, I won't fix it.
All right.
That's about it.
Could you do me a favor, so you're gonna get a quote on the patching for Willow Run and Topaz?
Patching, or you need to do the lines.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a quote on it.
Okay, cool. All right, and my second question, I haven't gotten back to her, so I've got to get back to her. Carolyn Beavis had a question about,
This, the culverts.
right, and then putting a check valve in.
A check valve in her.
Well, I'm thinking we could probably, we can't put it in the sewer, which I'm sure we can't, then we get some.
It's up to her to do it in her house.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd like to look at it, and then there's the culverts down below that probably need to be cleaned out, so we can get
It's the
a.
one, it's the one above that's gotta be cleaned, right?
Right.
And I talked to Pete, who's with, the county, and I guess, I think you notified them, and, you gotta give them,
Right away?
a written notice, which I think you did already, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and check. So, all right.
Do that, and then they'll schedule it. Now,
I'd like to get a quote first, just to make sure, we're following protocol here, and I can run it past the board. here.
well, I don't know if anybody else is gonna do it, except the county.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
As long as I get, a quote and I
Well,
can run it past the
well, yeah,
board. and make sure we do
when
it.
you mail the thing, or you talk to them on the fax there, you maybe get it from them, from Joe. I don't talk to Joe that much, I usually get a hold of
Mike
the
France?
dispatcher.
Or Mike
or-
France?
Yeah, Mike or the Pete, the one that's doing the work around in our area.
All right.
Drago.
Huh?
Pete Drago.
Drago, is that his last name? I met him one time, so. Because he took over from Rick Kalinsky. Yeah. That's about it.
All right. I have another question for you. Drawing a blank, Nick, I thought I had another question for you, but I'm drawing a blank. We did get the petition, so I'll be sending that down to Joe too.
Okay.
All right, for, this is Gilman on Quackenbush, so we'll feed that in and wait for the response. All right, Doug, questions for our highway superintendent?
No.
Joe?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Mr. Lou?
No, I'm fine.
And
Thanks, Nick.
Mr. Bob?
No, thanks, Nick.
All right. General Mead?
Well, did all the water billing, sent out all the bills, and this is the first year, I don't think anybody complained. Except the Tree Farm restaurant, they had a 1,500 gallon a day leak there. Darrell Road Booster Station, the fire pump, the new motor and the pump drive is in finally. The antenna on top of the Rooter Drive tank, evidently after 14 years of wind buffeting in it, and we had to repair the tank up there with straight line winds before. I think the antennas, the solder connection and everything inside it, all those pieces that are stacked together, that finally broke. Some of them not in communication, especially when we have these hot, humid, sunny days. Communications go down, and we just end up pumping water manually because it just shuts the pumps right off. You know, getting enough phone calls at 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to go out and do this.
So,
The Wells was up there a couple times, they ran a test, they got a new antenna, a new, better antenna for the Rooter Drive tank. They're bringing in one also for the well house, because the communications between those two spots with the way it sits down in the valley up there and the hills and the trees all around. Is that we'll put it on the Rooter Drive tank first, see how it does, what kind of signal strength they get. If they think they can improve it, then we'll put one on the well house too at the same time, put a new one there. And hopefully it'll last another 14 years.
I've got to ask, so what about that newfangled product called
wireless. Is there any way we can talk to Verizon and see if there's a wireless,
$40 a month for cell phones at all sites. And that's what the quotes have been. McDonald Engineering had the quotes there a couple of years ago. It's $40 a site. There's 6 sites, $240 a month.
Must be nice to get Verizon.
There was a dedicated once, a dedicated telephone line you could run between everything. That was several $100 a month just for that.
And wireless is supposed to go. All right, well, this is what we're looking for.
So we've done that several times over the last 6-8 years, talked about it.
So who's your communications guy then?
Wells Communication got the radios in there.
They don't use, any wireless?
Yeah, we have to change everything. Plus, you know, you gotta change everything inside all the stations. Then we gotta put the radios in, or telephones in, and then instead, you know, Saratoga County Sewer District, they got, 100 sites at $40 a pop.
Man.
You know, what they do, it went from using 2 guys to go around every day to 1.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think, you know, outside the box, that's all.
We're a small system, it's not, it's just like they're selling, you know, people try to sell me radio reads, drive around. It's $50,000, put radio read meters up.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth it, it's for a system our size.
Okay.
A big system, you know, a lot of people onto it, a lot of, you know, revenue coming in and that, and you can start thinking about it. And the other thing is, you said the Norman Skill Bank up there, or Doug Cole had gotten CFI, Pollard, and Carver. Well, Carver never came and took a look at it. But the little wash that took out was some of the stone that he had just done.
Yeah, that kind of,
The willow whips, you know, just because the trees and the branches and dead wood and everything come down, got hooked in that J hook. Kind of forced it up over the top of the bank where it's not supposed to go.
so, just for the rest of the board, so, there was a little bit of a washout, which, you know, kind of brand new, so still bothers me a bit, but, especially an engineered solution. But anyway, so it washed out a little bit, by Hayden property there, and George, you got 2 or 3 bids?
Yeah, Doug had gotten, well, he got 2 out of the 3 return bids. The people that put it in CFI, they want $17,500 to do this wash. Mark Pollard out of Altamont wants, $1,980. Which is a lot closer to what, you know, load of stone and setting it in place, maybe some fabric underneath, and I don't know if Doug's got on the crew getting some willow whips and put them back in there again, but I probably are. Gotta replace the willow whips, since we got a 10-year maintenance agreement
Right.
with FEMA and everybody else to maintain this thing.
Right. And it should be, I mean, you know. Do you have, so you'll have 2 bids, yeah, can you get a third?
Doug sent these things out, so
All right,
he got these, what, these were over a month ago, we had these bids.
all right. Well, so, if we can get, so you have 2 or just 3?
Doug's got 2, that's all he sent to me, and, you know, I forwarded the stuff to you.
Right. If you do me a favor, and just ask me if you can get a third one, just so we're, you know, following, procurement policy, and then, you know, I'll review with the board at the next agenda meeting, and then, you know, it's okay with the board, and they're okay, you know, we'll hopefully approve the $1,900 one instead of the $17,000 one.
Yeah.
But,
And instead of 1,900, probably more in the line.
yeah, agreed. So I just want to make sure I'm following, you know, procurement policy and all that good stuff, so if we can get a third bid, that'd be great.
I'll tell Doug, I'll give Doug a call tomorrow.
Okay. Spectacular. Everything else good?
Yeah.
Good. I have no questions. I'm kind of quiet tonight. Mr. Doug?
I'm good.
Mr. Joe?
I'm good.
Mr.
Thank
Lou?
you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Mr. Bob?
I had one question, you know, those two bids, were those apples and apples, the same type of work?
Yeah.
Boy, there's just a big difference there.
You know, it's what, about 15 foot long and about 3-4 feet into the bank. They washed out, took some of the riprap that was in there, washed it out, took the willow whips that were in there, probably in that distance. There's about 8, 10 of them a foot, so there's 150 willow whips that got to be replaced. I know when the original, it was like $4,000 for the willow whips on the whole length for the first time.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's Apple, you know,
Yeah, I was just wondering why. it's
that's,
the
you know,
difference.
Doug went up there and met, with CFI, he met Mark Powell up there, and Carver never bothered to respond. But, you know, it's like a load of stone and make sure it's set in place. That's it.
That's all I had.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I do have one more item here. I'm sure you read it, but I just want to, make sure I've communicated to you and to the town board. We have the outside water or outside user agreement for Lowell Carson. Mike put this together. It pretty much meets all our criterias, 1.5. As a district water user, pretty much that Mr. Carson's going to absorb all the costs. We're going to ask him to put down a deposit of $2,000 for engineering fees, and then obviously the
That also includes application fees to the state health department, the county health departments, and everything.
Yeah. And then the connection fee is going to be $1,000. So you're comfortable with this?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. It has to be stressed, Mr. Carson, that, this 1.5 times your assessment is for the next, we got 25 years or 24 years left, and that's, the original district is where he comes off of. You're gonna be paying this for the next 24, 25 years, whatever it is. But that's what happens, you get these outside users, and they pay for putting the water line in, and then don't realize they have to pay for getting the water to them, and they don't think they have to pay another dime. We've had that.
Mm-hmm.
Not with the first group we did, but the second group of people, there was a misunderstanding on them. I don't think everything was totally conveyed from the middleman
Right.
to the daughters.
Well, I'll give Mr. Carson a call tomorrow. I'll reaffirm it. And I'll do my due diligence. Say, I'm assuming you're going to have your attorney look at this. It's a contract, a 25-year contract, so you need to look at it closely. And then reiterate that all the costs are absorbed by you.
Yeah. All the cost in the next 25 years, you're paying for debt service on the annual tax bills.
Yeah, at 1.5.
I want to hang up 1.5 times the amount, which I think is, I don't know, $12 a thousand or something like that, something like that. 13 or something.
Well, if it sounds like he's doing good in business. I mean, he's expanding his business, so that's all good news. So hope this helps him. So just for the board, I'll be asking, per resolution that we okay this and go into agreement with them.
I have a question on that. Does that have to go for a public hearing since it's outside the water district? If there's anybody who objects to it? I suppose that question's for Mike.
No, water is or the particular one you're selling outside district, proprietary function of government. So your government's acting like a business. So as long as it's, you have the agreement is publicly discussed, you can do it.
We got 4 separate outside users, or done it 4 times already.
All right. Doug, anything for, John Lee? Joe? Lou?
No, fine, George, thank you.
Mr. Bob?
That's it, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Town planner Laura Savage.
The planning department has been a little bit slower recently. We've been continuing with our projects that we've had for a while now. Last month, we billed for projects for $231 for professional services. We haven't received the money yet for that. We've had a few phone calls from residents with questions pertaining to lands, subdividing, site plans, and for the FEMA, one resident wanted to get it out of a letter to state that his building was not in the floodplain. His property is, but his building's not, so I helped him with that. I sent Tim Bishop and the updated information about the roles of the planning department and some applications to post onto the website so that the website is more complete with what the duties of the planning department is. I've also revised the town's subdivision and lot line adjustment application so that the planning department can collect more information upfront about the projects and the applicants and the people who are involved in the projects. And this should lend to a fuller understanding of the projects prior to actually discussing it with the residents. And the planning board needs to vote on the approval of that revised application, but I did present it at the last planning board meeting, and they had a couple of suggestions, and I've changed it, so I'll probably present it at the next planning board meeting. And the ZRC committee has made some important changes to the document for the Hamlet District based on the meeting that we had with Donald Z. and Carver Laraway. They had some useful input about the wording and requirements, and we've incorporated a lot of their suggestions to produce the best proposal for the law that will guide the town and to be most beneficial for the residents.
Good to hear. Any other questions, Sue? Doug?
No
Joe?
questions. No, thank you,
Lou?
Lou.
And Bob?
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
She mentioned these, he wanted his building permit, fees back. We told him that we apply it to his other fees. They got rejected, but Sandy said.
All right, so one of the reasons, again, we put this new process in place, which seems to be working pretty good so far, is at every planning board meeting or zoning board meeting, zoning board of appeals meeting, we'll figure the bill out that night and then hand it to, Sandy, and she will, send the bills out, so on a monthly basis. And it's really because of, one client that has an excessive bill that still owes us here. So he actually sent in a bill to us, looking to recover his application fee for, in January with Mr. Marciniak, and was looking to, pull the money back that we, as a deposit. So our response was, no, you owe us, close to $16,000. We're gonna apply that to the bill. So we're still, it was like 10,000, 12,000, something to that effect, Sandy,
Yes.
in arrears.
Yes.
So, that was that. Is there any questions from the board on that, or? Okay. I'm sorry, did you agree with Laura?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Mr. Nick, thanks, Laura.
Okay, we had permit fees at $395 in July. Got a carport, 5 solar panels for the roof. One remodeling permit, a fence permit, and a wood stove. And that's about it. I'll say that's pretty slow.
All right, at the last meeting, there was the memo from the planning board about special uses.
I
I haven't gotten it to him yet.
We have been talking, so as soon as I got something to go with. There's been a few neighbors that had issues with each other, and I've gone and seen them, and, you know, prepared our, it didn't really involve the town. You know,
We have to get you a little peace patch or something.
so, well, if they call, you gotta go there, you know, and
Right.
explain it to them. Most people understand it, so
Good deal, thank you.
that's about it.
Doug?
No questions.
Joe?
No questions,
Bob?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Justice, I don't think he's got any reports. He had actually he had a good month. Actually, a very good month. So, looks like the revenues are, how to say this, revenues are on par or exceeding expectations as laid out at the last year's budget, so all should be good there. Dog control officer, I haven't heard from Darla, but so I'll send her a note, but I think it's been pretty quiet as far as the dogs go. Sandy, have you talked to, or?
No, there haven't been any dog issues lately.
Yeah. Good deal. All right, so that's basically it for business. We'll go through the town, so for the audience and the residents, I didn't attach a town or an action register this month. It was a very slow month, all vacation, and so I didn't attach it. And that's why I want to go first here, but I'm gonna ask the town to have a staff meeting, and then we're gonna re-engage, the action register and see where all the projects are, come like last month or last week of August, and get everybody back on track as far as the open items on the action register. So there's no action register attached tonight. Again, I took some vacation time. I'm sure it's been quiet, and everybody's trying to relax as we head to the last few days of August here, so. Doug, I'm gonna start with you if you're.
Yeah, I was looking, I was wondering, I thought, the judge took over July 1st.
I mean, took over.
In other words, he was supposed to start holding court July 1st. We're still paying Kevin and Litz
I'll have to
for
check
being
into it.
judges.
I gotta check into it. I'm sure it might be backfilled on this, right? I mean, what we're proving tonight is actually June, July.
Is he holding court since July? That's my question.
Yeah.
Because it shows here that, you're paying, I'll go see it.
I'll look into it, Doug. I'll see what the timesheets show.
It shows here, Kevin Litz got 1879.75 and Kevin McCoglin got 751.90 as of 8/12/14. My question is the judge holding court or are they still holding court?
I think they're still working together.
So are we paying all three of them?
Yep.
Why is that?
Well,
If he's not holding court,
I'm not sure exactly when the certification was. I mean, I gotta go look. I don't know.
that's my only question. Thank you.
Mike, excuse me, I believe that Norm had to have at least one judge with him until the judge had to sign off on him, but I don't really know what the paperwork involved.
Yeah, I'll find out. Anything else, Doug?
That's it.
Cool. Mr. Joe?
We have a new monitor on order, a wireless TV outside to monitor our solar. The first one we got didn't have enough random access memory in it to display the real-time information that was coming in from the Draker website that has the monitor on there. So that is, we returned the old one, and the new one is on its way in, and as soon as it's in, it'll go up. And that's pretty much it, yes. That's it.
Any questions for Joe? No, thank you, Joe. Okay, Mr. Lou.
State Police Barracks, we had a problem with their toilet. It was overflowing. They have a special unit involved in one end of the bathroom where the inspectors are. It was overflowing. It was a self-enclosed one, very expensive. Mohawk Heating went over and replaced it. The garage floor, constant complaints about this. I talked with Nick about this. We're going to, rather than go with the other route that we were going to take with the drain out, we're going to cut the concrete, put in a sluice with some stone on the bottom, and put a sump pump in that automatically comes on when the drain comes up, and it'll be running alongside the garage, up the sidewall and out into the grass as is needed. It's probably the cheapest way to do it, and it's not going to cost the town anything other than the cost of the pump and the materials. So we're going to proceed with that. We might as well get into the roof. I've got 3 estimates. I sent out 8 proposals for it, scope of work. 3 came back. Well, 1 was already back. The other 2 revised their quotes. 1 dropped out of it, did not want to bid on a, they still maintain that they wanted to do a torch down roof. This is this mule hide roof that, which I think is much better. And the 4th proposal, they asked if they could wait another week. I told them they had to be in by tonight, but they asked if they could get back to me. They want to put in a bid on it. I think maybe we could hold off a week or 2 if it's all right with the board. All 3 of these proposals that we have are identical now, what they're going to do, what the scope of work is, what the cost is, if there's any overrides in it, replacing the plywood, hauling the trash away. Everything is the same now. So, but this other contractor asked if he could do it. The other 5 apparently didn't want to respond. The 4 didn't want to respond, so and we can't wait for them. But this one asked if he could get back to me on it. So if the board is willing, I don't know if you're willing or if not. I just assume another week or 2 wouldn't hurt. I don't think we can do it at our next meeting.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, if there's a chance, that we can get a lower price in. Yeah, absolutely.
What, Apple came in at 97, American 85. What was
Yes.
Ken Shears? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember offhand. I thought I gave you guys the copies of that at the last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, I think it was, for Kenny Shears. But like I said, I've got 1 more, and I don't know if you've got it or not, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, we do have it. 9220.
For Ken Shears?
Oh, actually, that's, am I reading this right, Lou? Yeah. 9220 is total.
I think that if we would like to wait for another week or 2 weeks.
This one?
Yeah, so you can keep that. This is apples. It's the same one that American gave us, with the same procedure, the same materials.
Yeah,
It's the mule hide 2-layer system, hauling the garbage away, replacing extending the drip edge out, replacing new drip edge, new galvanized drip edge. The only thing that is, you'd have to pick out the color of the roof and see what the difference is. Nobody's gonna see it anyway, but.
Mhm. No, you know, if there's a chance we can get, you know, a lower bid, I'm sure we can wait 2 weeks.
They're also complaining that the window is broken there, it has to be replaced. They did get a price for it. It's $402 to replace it. If you wanna go ahead with that, I don't know, that's less than the procurement of 500, isn't it?
Yeah.
If that's agreeable, and if you wanna go ahead and do that, I'll have them order it and have them replace it. That's in the room that we did last year.
Yeah, that window was.
Shot.
Yeah.
What's it gonna cost for installation, or is that?
That's a,
Okay.
yeah, it's fine.
Well, what I'll do is, while I was going through this is, you know, kind of write up a resolution.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Other than that, so that's where we stand on it, and hopefully we can, all three of the contractors I talked with will definitely have the work done before November. Who's ever awarded it, so I'm gonna wait to see where the other one comes in. The other contractor that is definitely interested in it is Suburban. All three of these contractors are reputable, they've all been in business for 20-plus years. They've been around, they all have an excellent reputation, so. And they're all local, Tri-City area.
Very good. So, I'm fine with waiting, you know, a week or 2 weeks until next agenda meeting or next meeting anyway. To, you know, if we get another bid coming in, you know, I think it's fair. So, I mean, as long as, that's just, you know, again, my.
I'm fine with it, yeah.
Joe, are you good? Or,
Yeah.
Doug?
Yes.
All right, and Bob?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then, that's cool. All right, any questions for Mr. Lou?
Where you gonna, there's some pump that's gonna go in the garage? Where
Here's
gonna
what you
pump
do,
it?
we're gonna pump it out the side, out onto the grass. Onto the, if you're in the back of the garage, you would look to the left. So if we ran a pipe up with a check valve, and what I was planning on doing is cutting a trench, maybe 3 inches wide.
Outside the sewer, right?
No, inside, repatching the concrete. You put it in, I've done this before, you dig it out where the drain is, you put a sluice in with stone in the bottom, you set the sump pump in there, and it's an automatic one with a float. And you run the wire down over the top of the pipe, so that if you ever have to replace the pump, you can always get at it. So as the water would go in, when it rains, it would automatically pump it out. I was also thinking of putting in a heating cable alongside the garage so it wouldn't freeze in the winter. Once it's out onto the grass, it's certainly not gonna hurt anything. It'll be away from the building and it won't be coming in, and other than the price of the pump and the pipe, I think it's the way to go.
Where is the actual discharge from the pump? How's it gonna get out of the garage? Underneath that?
Underneath the garage, we're gonna cut a trench in the concrete and then repatch it, put the pipe in there, a 3-inch pipe, probably with a check valve.
3-inch pipe?
3-inch, 2-inch, whatever it is, just so you can pump it out.
Yep.
And once it's out, run it up alongside the garage, the wall, and then out the building, and then down, over into the grass. So if you had a check valve in there, the water wouldn't come back into the sluice. A sluice, and you put that around there, and you put the stone in the bottom, and you set the pump inside. That way the water, as it rises or it comes in from the garage door, it'll automatically pump out, and it'll never, you we'll never have a problem with it again, other unless the pump breaks down, but we have that with the sewer out here, which we just went through this past year, last winter. So it'd be the same thing, but in something like that only runs when it rains, you know, or when the snow melts, I don't think it's gonna be a problem. So I think that's the cheapest way to go, and other than the materials, and I've got some help, Nick has offered to help me with it, so we're gonna go ahead and, if it's okay with the board, I mean.
You're gonna have some sketches or?
No, I've done it before, but I don't know, Nick, do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, it'll work.
It'll work all right? George, you
Sure, whereabouts in the garage are you gonna put the pump?
put the pump right into the hole where the drain is.
There?
You put a sluice in,
Yeah.
and then you put the stone in the bottom, dig it out, put the stone in the bottom, set the pump in there, and you run the pipe under the, and then repatch the concrete floor.
How do you get power to the pump?
We're gonna run a line down through there, so that if you have to replace the pump, you can take it out. Run it alongside the pipe, under the ground. Put an underground line in, underground wire in, and then just run it up alongside the building and tie it into, so that if we have to get at it again and replace it, it'll be not a problem. Is that, you think it'll work, George?
Sure.
And Nick seems to think.
That's right, drop the pump into now.
Preferably put the pump in the low spot.
So,
Yeah, that's pretty good. On that, yeah.
that's all I have.
All right, thanks. Questions for Lou? Doug? All right, Mr. Bob?
I have nothing much for this past month, other than Loretta did have some questions for the board, so we'll maybe get to address that at the next meeting on some of the employee benefits and policies. So we'll get that between now and the next meeting. So, other than that, then,
Okay. Questions for Bob? All right, let me jump in here, try to make it quick. So, like I said, we got the petition for Quackenbush Drive, so I'll get that in the mail. We're in process of completing Standard & Poor's ratings forms. As you know, last year we got a great rating for a town our size. I'm hoping, maybe because I'm pretty optimistic type of a person, that we'll actually get a better rating this year, because financially the town's on a lot better footing than it's been. You know, despite the rumors running around town that the revenues are down, so there's gonna be a town tax, let me not reassess everybody, ease everybody's concerns. There is no tax. No tax, no tax, no tax, no tax. Let me repeat that. For the tax, in case somebody's holding up a phone. No tax. Revenues are down, that's true. We are addressing it. We've met, we are addressing it. But again, we realized the revenues were gonna be down, and during our budget season last year, and we appropriated appropriately. So we expect the revenues to exceed our estimates, nothing major, but again, our costs have been cut, you know, over the last 3 years. So there is no plans for a town tax. No, 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 no. So not sure where we're hearing it or where it's out there, but the word is no. We are coming into our budget season, and I can reaffirm you, or reassure you that, you know, unless, you know, something dramatically happens, there's no reason for it. As part of the Standard & Poor's ratings, we're going to say again, our fund balance is, we estimate to increase again for the 3rd year in a row. So I just want to reaffirm all the residents that that's where we are. So we hope to submit that by the end of the week, maybe early next week. We've met her a couple of times, so as soon as it's completed and submitted, I'll have a copy ready for the board. So I need to turn to a little bit of serious, not that that's not serious, but this is a little bit on the personal side. So on May 27th, I got an email from the director of my company's human resources department. And the follow-up email from her, as I'm sure everybody understands, the forwarding, was from the chief legal officer of the company I work for. Her past judge and her boyfriend feel it appropriate to call my boss and my company and continue to threaten my employment. This is the 4th time it's happened. My message to Ms. Van Wart and Mr. Urbanus, if they call again, that they continue to try to intimidate me, bully me, threaten my company, threaten me or my family, I've engaged an attorney, I'm gonna take legal action. This is the 4th time they've done this. They may think it's appropriate to threaten people, but it's not. If you have a problem with the way I'm doing this job, come to this forum and talk about it. I'm fine with defending everything I've ever done in this forum. I've ran on open and transparent government, and I'm fine with it. I can answer to anything on any decision that I've done here. I've taken great pains to explain to everybody, every single meeting, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why it's logical in my head, and why it's good for the town. But in 2012, September 11th, Mr. Urbanus felt it fine to call my boss. My boss lived in, at that time, my manager lived in Maryland. How he got the number is beyond me, but I'm sure some people have access to databases. A week later, or 10 days later, Mr. Urbanus again called my boss and threatened him. I work and represent Carol McLean and Michelle Van Wart, and if you don't tell your employee to back off, we're going to sue you. On November 26, 2012, now the state police get involved. Now the state police are calling my boss at 10:30 at night, threatening him. I need to talk to you about your employee, Mike Joyce. I let those go. Despite what everybody else was saying, I let it go. May 27th this year, again, I got the phone call. This time from the Human Resources again, because last time I had to go to the president of Global Services, who owns all engineering and everything, that's who eventually I work for, that I am now under investigation inside my own company. I had to submit to a background check, which I wasn't worried about, but again, my reputation of my company is now at stake. So here's the message to Ms. Van Wart and Mr. Urbanus. You threaten my company again, they're going to take action. You threaten me again, and I'm going to take legal action. You come near my family, I'm going to take action. No more. No more of this stuff. I'm not going to take my personal life being threatened. Period. I will be filing. I'm assuming the board, well, I'm not going to assume anything. So, and it's pretty bad if this is where this town goes, that you try to jump in here and help. Their complaint was that I used to come down here and work a couple of days. You know what? I'm not sure what my company has to do with this town, but how I take my vacation time or my paid time off or my comp time and give it to the town, that's my business. I don't need my job to be threatened for this. Now, if that's the way Ms. Van Wart wants to run this town, wow, we are in bad shape. I've got to, and I'll wrap up with this. So we've all read recently, the last 6 or 7 months, about that spy who released all the records and now he's hiding in Russia. The company he was referring to was Verizon. That Verizon was listening to all the conversations, capturing all the emails, capturing all the voicemails. Well, Ms. Van Wert, guess where you left the message? On a Verizon number. We can get it that fast. So, there's my message. No more. So I had a couple other things to do, but I need to just take a break here and move on here, but. All right. Any questions?
Can I just voice my support for your stand, Mike, because this is ridiculous. And I just want you to know that I think you're 100% justified, and I'll stand with you no matter what.
Thanks.
Well, I'm supportive with you too, Mike, as far as, you know, somebody jeopardizing your job, that's definitely.
I would actually have a serious issue with anybody who did support this, because it's just, you know, are you kidding me? Where are we, in Germany?
That's right.
All right, let's move on. Next month, we'll talk about electronic fund transfers. Just give you a brief history because it's a little bit complicated. Our former justice felt it okay to transfer funds, and I don't understand, it's probably a mistake, but transfer funds out of the checking account, the town's checking account, to pay our own phone bills. I think it's a foolproof system, done millions of times an hour, but apparently there was an oops somewhere, so I'd be interested to hear what that oops was. All right, minutes approval. Do I have a motion that the town board minutes for the July 8th town board meeting and July 29th special town board meeting are approved?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Lou?
Yes.
Mr. Doug?
Yes.
Mr. Joe?
Yes.
Mr. Myers? And Joyce is a yes. Passed. New business. So Lou, I'm just gonna make a note here that we're gonna wait 2 weeks or the next meeting. Actually, what's our next meeting? Is it next week or 2 weeks? Is it next week?
Next
Right,
week.
can we do both though?
Yeah, it's fine, They don't have it.
Right, but we can, well, it actually is on the agenda meeting this month. Okay. Yeah, so 19th? Okay. So,
If they don't have it by then, then we'll go with the 3.
all right. Okay, good, thanks, Lou. All right, so we talked about the state police, and I just want to put that in there as a marker, Lou, so. All right, amendment to resolution 1485. We passed an amendment when we came out of executive session last week. I just want to, do some clarification. Whereas the town board of the town of Princetown wants to amend resolution 14185 to provide additional clarification of the resolution. The resolution will change from, the town board hereby directs the attorney for the town to submit the Division of Human Rights complaint of Carol McLean to the town's insurance carrier, NYMER, for defense, indemnification, and assignment of attorney. The resolution will now read, the Princetown Town Board hereby directs Michael Cuevas, attorney for the town of Princetown, to submit the most recent Division of Human Rights complaint of Carol McLean against the town board of the town of Princetown to the town's insurance carrier, NYMER, for defense, indemnification, and assignment of an attorney. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second.
Mr. Lou?
Yes.
Mr. Doug?
Yeah.
Mr. Joe?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce? Passed. We talked earlier, so I'll read through the whole thing here, but you guys are all, I think, in agreement with the Carson Lowell Carson.
Mike, can I just interrupt you before you read this? Because I wasn't part of your discussion on this. I just would like to know if you have all considered whether or not you need to put a limit on this. Just, the reason I say this is because the work the ZRC has been doing on the Hamlet District, there's a very good chance that once it gets passed, there's going to be probably quite soon that Carvalero is going to get started on maybe a multi-family housing project up on Route 20, which I think would probably use a fair amount of water. I mean, the intent was to develop that area, businesses, retail business, housing, so on and so forth. So with that on the horizon and the potential for this district here around the town hall to also be Hamlet and also be able to have senior housing or whatever, there's a good chance that our water use is going to go up quite a bit. And I know people have always said, oh, there's plenty of water, we're never going to run out of water, but I don't believe that. And I just wondered if, when Doug was doing these calculations, did he consider, what, if this thing expands, this slaughterhouse you're saying it's could be expanding, how much would he expand? And if he does expand, how much, more water would he be likely to use? And would that conflict with what we're trying to do in our town? And put limits on then, the type of development we're trying to encourage in the areas. It's something maybe you should think about a little bit and before you pass this. I don't know if Doug did any kind of capacity study, but just something for you to consider.
The applicant indicated that they were using 100 gallons of water a day. Now, Doug felt that that was a low estimate.
Yeah, it sounds pretty low to me.
The excess capacity that Doug figured is in the system, this would not present any kind of problem. But just in case, there's language in the agreement that first, water is provided so long as we have the capacity. The other is that he can't expand the business without notification to us, so that, he or anybody that might buy or lease the business from him, anything like that, that no expansion or change of the use is permitted without consulting with us.
So, if he's saying 100 and then, George is measuring his usage every year and all of a sudden it goes up to 1,000 gallons a day, what's our...
We'd have the ability to cut them off.
That's in there?
Right.
Okay. I just, because I just would hate to see somebody outside the district putting a kind of a cramp on what we're trying to do here.
No, that's a good question.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know if anybody realizes how much water is being pumped out of those water wells up there. But there's probably, what does a tanker hold, Mark?
Depends on what they're doing.
Full tanker load.
They're 9,000, but they're overweight.
There's got a permit for overweight. They're probably hauling 50,000 gallons of water out of there a day, out of one of those wells. I don't understand, what is another 100 gallons is gonna do, or 1,000 gallons is gonna do. If you're gonna run out of water, well, you'd be running out of water when somebody's pumping that much water out of there every day. And that's on a continuing basis, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just bringing that up because I don't think anybody realizes how much water is coming out of those wells over there. That's not counting our water.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much George pumps out of there a day.
Well, we're averaging about 70,000 a day right now.
And another 50,000 from the other.
Well, we did have water restrictions, what was it, about a year or two ago?
Yeah, because we ended up cleaning out a well and everything else. The one well was pumping below. We cleaned it out now. This year it's...
No, it's, I think Pat's got a concern, and then Lou's, go to the other side of the argument. You watch the water, and we've in the past had to restrict as required.
I think we also have the ability to shut the other, either shut a portable and then even one down. If it affects the municipal water system.
That was just the point I was making up, so there's probably, what, 120, 130 gallons, 1,000 gallons of water coming out of there every day.
Yeah, this year, probably about half of it probably comes out in between May and everything.
What's that?
I think you're probably like 250,000 gallons a day probably comes out of there.
250,000
I think
gallons.
because A1 hauls a lot more than,
Yeah, I know, they're hauling 5 to 7 loads a day out of there.
I think they haul more than that.
Do they? Sometimes.
Yeah, their trucks are going almost 24 hours.
They are running a 24-hour schedule,
You see,
7 days a
here,
week.
Right.
Of course, I would think that probably outside users would be cut off before anybody in town if you did run.
That's what I'm saying, so I don't know what another 100 gallons or 200 gallons or 1,000 gallons is gonna make a difference. Just, you know,
Well, I think legally, that might we have the ability to shut down A1.
We already
or
have that,
A1
right?
to A4.
we already have that ability to shut them down.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I don't think
Do we
anybody
have it, or
realized
was
how
it in
much
that, where from their laws that never
Yeah,
passed?
It's legally in New York State.
Is it in here, okay. Because I think there was some language in that too, but we never passed it.
Okay, thanks, Pat.
Sure.
So, resolution determining sufficient water supply and authorizing outside water district agreement with Lowell Carson. Whereas Lowell Carson operates a slaughterhouse business known as Double L Ranch on Dunsville Road in town of Gilderland, and whereas Mr. Lowell approached the town board of the town of Princetown as the Board of Commissioners for the Princetown Water District Number 1 to request an extension of the water district to his properties as it is not serviced by the town of Gilderland water districts, and whereas the town engineer has studied the situation and has confirmed that the town of Princetown Water District Number 1 has sufficient capacity to supply Mr. Lowell's business without affecting users within the district, and that a connection is feasible, and whereas the attorney for the town has prepared a proposed outside user agreement with input from the town engineer for the approval of the town of Gilderland and the property owner. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Princetown acting as the Board of Water Commissioners for the Princetown Water District Number 1 hereby finds that the water district has sufficient capacity to extend service to Mr. Lowell's business in the town of Gilderland. And be it further resolved, that the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to enter into the proposed outside user agreement with Lowell Carson, subject to the approval of the town of Gilderland and Mr. Lowell. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Lou?
Yes.
Mr. Doug?
Yes.
Mr. Joe?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
And Joyce, yes. Resolution passed. Water fund claims for number aspect and rate. The motion is hereby resolved, the town board approves claims 71 to claims 84 in the amount of $16,245.37.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Lou. Mr. Lou? Mr. Joe?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Doug?
Yes.
Mr. Joe?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Joyce? Yes. We do have a small change on this that George pointed out, the general fund transfer. So I'm gonna rewrite this for 1 second here, folks. We're doubled up on voucher voucher 222. Get these quick math. So just, when you see this, it's actually, Bellevue Builders for $33.20. Account number 16294 is actually in the, water claims. So I'm subtracting the 3320 from the 19,441.63 equal 19,408.43.
So approving claims 205,
221.
228, set.
Yes. All right. All right. Do I have a motion, general fund claims 2014, abstract number 8. Do I have a motion, it's hereby resolved, that the town board approves claims 205 to claims 228 with the exception of 222 in the amount of $19,408.43.
So moved.
Second? Thank you, Lou. Mr. Lou?
Yes.
Mr. Doug?
Yes.
Mr. Joe? Mr. Myers? Or Mr. Bob, sorry. And Joyce? Passed. All right, we have to do some transfers here. Hereby the transfers, so in the amount of $2,015 from the assistant court clerk fund to the supply line, 1104.1, reasons under budgeted. The amount of $425 from the bookkeeper's professional service to the supply line and the supervisors, eco stipends. 178 for the town clerk equipment line to the town clerk supply line for papers and supplies. 291.03 for the state police municipal miscellaneous fund to the state police repairs, for repairs. $331.50 for central print supplies to central print mail. Reason was under budgeted. The $2,330 from the contingency fund for the planning board attorney fund. The reason is under budgeted. I just wanted to comment on that one. So that is additional charges for engineering and that get charged to the planning board. So when Doug Cole or McDonald Engineer come in and submits their bill, obviously we pay it and then we charge the applicant. So that's, it's not like we actually under budgeted the planning board attorney fees. It's just there's actually a couple of costs that we take out of that, and we should try to adjust or at least discuss it when we come to the planning session or budget session this year. So anyway, just a note. $57 for PIAC supplies at PIAC trees under budgeted, and then $5,431 from contingency for the unemployment funds unanticipated bills. As the town, and I'll just remind the board and residents, we're not like a private business where you can pay unemployment insurance. We need to pay out of pocket when people file unemployment claims against the town. Okay, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
Bob, second?
I'll second
Thank you, Lou. Mr. Lou?
Can you explain the last item, the unemployment? Who is
There's two-
validly getting unemployment from,
There's two people on unemployment, Ronnie Edwards and Rebecca Sealy. We've challenged them and we lost. And actually, even if we did win, I don't understand the process, but we still would have had to pay, and then the next person who's in line for unemployment would have paid us back, so it could have taken a couple of years, so. I'm not quite sure we understand the budget process for the unemployment, but anyway, those are the two people. Okay, we had Bob first, Lou second. Lou?
Yes.
Mr. Doug?
Yes.
Mr. Joe?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
And Mr. Mike, yes. Whoa. Short agenda.
Yeah. You just described part-time jobs, like, as getting unemployment insurance. I didn't know that that's the way unemployment worked in New York State.
Even with part-time employment, you get unemployment. Well,
Even if you don't pay into the insurance fund, the UIB?
You know,
We're not
you
paying
only
in.
get a dollar amount of qualifying earnings within 4 of the past 6 quarters prior to your claim. That's a pretty low threshold.
I forgot, guys, I got one more resolution here. Yeah. No, the resolution, I just, it's on the budget, so. Thank you for the savings of trying to, under pressure, whatever resolution. Okay, that's all we have tonight, folks. I would like, well, it's up to the board. We did talk about going through the next chapter, 160, subdivision regulations tonight. I don't want to go on overtime on Mr. Ben.
So we just take a minute to address this.
Oh, yes, sorry. Go for it.
Okay, back to your question, Mrs. Teets. It was mainly with the content that was in some of those last 3 chapters, okay, that some of us were concerned with. And we went through the other 20-some chapters as a board, and we didn't these last 3. So that's why we were concerned about going through them as a board. And we wanted to take and make some changes or see if there were things in there that needed to be changed or we wanted to have changed before we sent it in to be put on the computer, okay? It wasn't that those chapters are not going to end up there, it's just that we wanted to have the changes made before they went. That's what our feeling
But
was.
don't you have a deadline though?
We do, and that the board we have agreed, we started working on those last 3 chapters, we've gotten through 1, and we were going to be working on the 2nd chapter tonight. And so we are working as a board, going through that, and going to get them on the computer. So it's not that those 3 aren't going to be on the computer, just that we felt some of us felt we wanted to go through and see if there was any changes that needed to be made.
Okay, and you decided that after the last meeting that you were gonna go through those 3 chapters first before you...
We're going to do the 3 chapters. We already have had 1 meeting. We're meeting and going through some of it tonight, and then next week we're getting together again, if all goes well, to continue working on those chapters.
Great.
So, yeah, I want to clarify though, the 20 chapters or whatever have been submitted.
Yes.
So they're going to come back and, be ready for approval. We still need to submit these. So we're going on like batch number 2 or 3, whatever it's going to be.
Does that clear things up for you?
Yeah, I mean, you are now there, it is gonna be done by the time it's supposed to be, you're saying,
Well,
If all goes well, we don't hit any real roadblock.
Okay.
there's confusion here.
Huh?
There's a little confusion. So we went through, and whatever happened to these 3 chapters, we can go back and look at the minutes, but we tried to pass those 3 chapters. The answer was, we didn't want to look at the recommendations that night, so the resolutions failed. It means they died. So what got submitted to E-Code was the full book, those 3 chapters, unchanged. They just stayed the same. There was no change on them. But, understanding that the board had major, and rightfully so, we committed to, actively looking to change those 3 chapters, as we are now, as Bob indicated, moving forward. So once these chapters get passed via normal municipal town law process, we will submit them to be codified, and then they will be added into the already codified town laws. So as soon as we're done and we're ready to go, we can submit them. If we get them, maybe, but that's where we stand. So, we've already finished one of them. We've submitted to the boards for their review and comment, and hopefully it'll come back soon, and then we can take a look at that one, and if everything's good, schedule the public hearing and move, as a regular process. And then the same with chapter 160 tonight. If we, I don't think we'll get through it, but we may.
Once this is in the computer, how do the residents get access to it? What website?
It'd be the website. There'd probably be a link on the town board, or not the town board, the town of Princetown, princetown.net. There'll be a link there saying, town code. You click on it, it'll open it up. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just it's like a regular search tool. But there'll be a link right there. Yeah, it'd be pretty easy to, be real easy, actually. It'll be nice. And to your concerns, like, you can just look up any law and research it yourself. As Laura said tonight, people came in trying to understand, whatever questions they were asking her, they could have sat at home and done it. At least looked up the law and printed it out anyway. Okay. All right, thank you. Do we want to do this tonight? For a half hour anyway? I gave Mr. Myers my word.
Well, if everybody's on, okay, we can work on it Tuesday. I'll forgive you. No, but whatever.
No, you won't forgive me?
This would be a record.
I know, I'm kind of excited about it.
Okay, well, let's make a record for Mike, and we'll really hit the books next Tuesday night.
Man.
Is that a deal?
Doug?
Fine with me.
All right.
Joe?
Yes, sir.
Lou?
Fine.
Next week, I want you guys to come prepared.
Exactly. Good gosh. All right, typically we open up for, second privileges of the floor, so I will at 8:34. All right, and then I'll close second privileges of the floor at 8:35. Any last minute comments from the town council? Thoughts, questions, or concerns? Mr. Doug?
None for me.
Joe?
No.
Mr. Lou? And Mr. Bob?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. And we're done at 8:35.